Well, hello there. Welcome back to My Life as a Landlord. I'm your host, Dr. Jen, and I'm so excited for today's guest. You're going to see some big numbers in the show notes. Accomplished multiple nine figures raised, over 3 billion with a B transactions, and managing partner of M1 Real Capital. It's an incredible highlight reel, and I'm so excited to have one of my mentors on the show, Marcin Drozdz. Welcome, Marcin. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. Let's do this.
Oh my gosh. Well, I want to I cannot not mention the highlight reel. Your numbers are really incredible. And in many of your books, you have pages and pages and pages of testimonials, which I read them and I went, why would he put this in there? And I go, that's why he has the book, which is pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Well, as you know, our listeners are landlords all over North America and actually globally now. We've got a following in Australia and in Europe
Cool.
as well.
All right.
Yeah. And wanted to talk with you about not only how you got started, but the awkwardness of getting started as you laugh.
We can do that. Yeah.
So let's take us back to the early days. I know lots of folks weathered the 2008 economic crash, and you were launching your first capital raising fund. And I know there was a bit of stories before that as well. So tell us your hard, awkward conversations just getting started.
Well, I can tell you the first hard, awkward conversation was with my mom and dad when I dropped out of school because I was supposed to become a lawyer. So that was probably the most awkward. Actually, no, part two was even more awkward when I told them I was going to get into sales because I was born in Poland, communist Poland, and Eastern European culture, salespeople are like below garbage collectors. Like it's like the pond scum, right? So, imagine my parents, you know, response when I told them not only am I dropping out of school because I had a scholarship I did first 2 years in school for law and admin stuff for security administration, and then it was like a transition to York for law and all this stuff, and I had a scholarship and I dropped out because I started buying properties. So anyway, the first awkward conversation was with mom and dad, where it was like, hey, not only am I dropping out of school, but I'm going to get into sales. Why? Well, because this guy named Robert Kiyosaki told me that sales is a life skill and yada, yada, yada. So it was a huge throw up in my house. And to this day, I'm not sure if my parents know what I do for work yet, but that's another conversation. So yeah, there's lots of awkward conversations, and actually the ability to have awkward conversations is required as you get further and further and further down your career path. So if that's the theme, then I have awkward conversations for days that we can talk about because yes, it's part of the job.
Absolutely. Well, and you've absolutely conquered a lot of this, which I know we'll get into. But let's talk about the your conversation with your mom and dad threw me off. I was expecting you to talk more about door-to-door sales, which I know you started and you didn't want to do it,
Sure. I
but then
mean,
you did it.
yeah. I mean, before I had some before I was, I'm an incredibly introverted person. It's hard to tell, but I am. If you actually look at like my profile, my disc profile or whatever it is, I'm actually much more of an introvert than an extrovert. So for me to do the stage thing or for me to do the social thing is actually not the thing that I'm naturally good at. So I had to learn how to do it, like just out of pure necessity. So if you're like an introvert and you're like, oh, well, I'm not a salesperson. I mean, I get it. Look at my disc profile. I'm neither. I'm not that either. But I just had to learn the skill, and the more I use it, the better I got at it, right? So but yeah, the first jobs, I mean, everything from selling golf balls, to golfers and picking them up with stuff and doing all that stuff to then eventually trying to do door-to-door sales. And I did that for a few summers and made money, paid for school and everything else. But then when I went to school, I thought, okay, like this world of entrepreneurship is kind of behind me and I'm going to go be like a grown-up now, right? And then I went into school and I hated it. I hated the fact that everybody I was in school with was like just trying to position themselves to look good on paper so they could get a good job. And that's when I found the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, and I'm like, well, I'm more like this guy, and I'm, more entrepreneurial, more whatever. And then getting out of school because I was pretty good at school. I wasn't like, it's not like I had a problem with school. I just maybe I didn't like it, but I was good at it. And yeah, just getting through school was a grind, but I did it. And then, you do the college, university thing, whatever it is. And I just finally, like, while I was in school, so here's my turning point, Jen. Okay. So when I was 21, I bought a house, and I bought it as a rental. I bought it with my best friend. Neither of us knew what we were doing, blind leading the blind, and the real estate agent didn't know what he was doing. So it was all three of
Oh
us blind.
no.
And yeah, I learned about negative cash flow the moment I closed because I thought I was going to get whatever per month in rent. I did not get that. And we were like feeding the house like $1,000 or $1,200 a month, which is a lot of money today. 20 years ago, $1,000 was a lot more than it is today. So, that was a learning lesson. But the tenant left, thank God for us, because we would have gone broke subsidizing their living. But they left, and then we decided to fix the house, and we turned it into a fix and flip, and we made like 30 or 40 grand despite everything else. And we were like, this is cool. And I was in school at the same time, and we
Mm.
started buying other small, projects and things like that. And then one thing led to another, and that's how I ended up getting into multifamily and commercial and private equity and all that stuff. But yeah, look, there's happy to go wherever you want with the conversation because there's a lot of things we can dig into here.
No, that's great. Well, let's talk about the first time you had to have an awkward conversation with either your partner or your one of your advisors and just say, you know what, this isn't working. Or
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, let's carry on the school theme. So while I was in
okay,
school, I took a business class, and I went up to my professor, who was a business professor, and I legitimately asked him what business he owned. And I wasn't trying to be offensive or a smart ass. It was inconceivable to me that you could teach business without being a business owner.
right,
Just like, how are you going to teach me accounting if you're not an accountant or you have an accounting background? Or how are you going to teach me science if you're not a science teacher? Like, it was inconceivable to me that you could be a business or teach business in school and not have run a business. So when he said to me he doesn't own a business, I said, okay, cool. What business did you own? Because to me, I was trying to, because it's inconceivable to me that you could teach me something you've never done. And he just stared at me. He goes, I wrote this book. I go, great. About what? He goes, business. I go, based on what? Like I wasn't trying to be. So obviously I didn't finish that class.
right?
But it was a very awkward conversation. I wasn't trying to be awkward. I was just trying to get clarity. It's like, learn how to be a police officer. Okay, great. From who? This guy that played, one in TV. Okay, great. So he's going to teach me how to be a cop. How? And that was awkward.
Based on what? Yeah. No, it's really interesting. And what's really cool about what you just said was that you weren't being disrespectful. You were just asking reasonable questions about a line of thought that makes reasonable sense. And unfortunately, it may have been offensive to him.
Oh, he
But
was very offended.
oh, I bet because you're challenging why he was a professor and getting paid to teach, but your logic of you're teaching me based on what experience. And he wrote a book, but that doesn't mean that he's
Yeah, like
okay to
I'm
teach
not
a
this isn't
class.
like an economics class. Like I understand if
Right.
you're teaching me economics or teaching me something that's like abstract and theoretical, that's fine. There's a lot of economists with like no business experience because they're economists, right? That's what they
Right.
teach. But this was a business class. This was a how to set up a business, how to run a business. Like I'm like, okay, great. Like it was just that was awkward. Actually, I haven't talked about this in a very long time, but that was a very awkward conversation. Yes.
Well, the funny thing is that it wasn't meant to be a confrontation. It was simply a curiosity, right?
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. And I know it was an awkward conversation at the end of it. And then you dropped the class, right? Is this
Well, it would have dropped me if I didn't drop it. So
right?
yeah, that was pretty much the last day I was in that class. I
Oh
don't
my
think I was
goodness.
welcome back. So
Oh my goodness.
yeah, it's okay. But you know what? But just my natural curiosity and I carry this through to my life now in my 40s is that whenever somebody presents me with something, I don't question what they presented me. I question their their background to have an opinion on the thing that they're telling me about. Does that make sense? So I
Yeah.
actually, whenever somebody gives me an opinion on anything, whether now, obviously, when we're hiring people, I screen for this before we hire them so that I take them seriously or partner with them or whatever it is. But
Mhm.
I actually don't really care about your answers initially on a superficial level. I actually want to understand what gives you the credibility to have an opinion on the topic. And that's my filter before I actually take because you can have opinions on whatever you want. But your background will determine whether I actually just smile and nod and go, oh, that's interesting, or actually have a genuine interest in what you want to talk about. Because like I shouldn't have an opinion on cooking, for example, because I will burn everything. But I can have opinions on barbecue because I really like barbecue. But cooking and like in the house, in the kitchen, I don't have an opinion because I don't know anything. I can burn
Okay.
water. Like I could literally burn, I could screw it up. But like barbecue, I have opinions, strong ones because I like barbecue. Do you know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
for me, like a lot of people have a lot of opinions on a lot of things that they actually know nothing about. And I just, before I listen to your opinion, I just want to know what the context is so that in my mind, it's like, okay, this is going to go into like a cool, thank you kind of file, or hey, this is like important. I can learn from this in the context of how it applies to my life. Because I don't want to take bad advice.
Well, and the credibility and context part of what you just said is really interesting. And going back to the example about the professor, he had no credibility, and his context is that he did enough research to write a book,
Yeah,
right? And so that's pretty reasonable saying, you know what, you don't really have a whole lot of credibility, and your context is not real world. And so your question was, what real world business experience do you have?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, so credibility and context. I'm just going into applications. We've got a lot of listeners who are self-operators, or they're monitoring their property
Well,
managers.
I mean, think
Yeah.
about it. Think about it when, I mean, okay, so here's where I didn't listen to my gut, okay? When I
Okay.
bought that first real estate property, I bought it from a real estate agent because I thought he was a real estate investor. Not the same thing. He was a great sales
Mm.
guy. Great guy, loving to pieces. I'm glad he pushed me into real estate. I just shouldn't have listened to him in the context of the asset to buy. But, that's the real thing. So, Warren Buffett says it another way. He goes, never ask your barber if you need a haircut, right? So, it's just, it's like, who are you getting your advice from? Most people get their advice from salespeople. They don't get advice from people that are actually doing the thing that they're not making their money alongside you. They're making their money off you. And that's a different context, right? Like when somebody is making money from you, they have a bias versus if somebody is making money with you, right? So if you're a landlord, if you're an owner, I mean, assume that everybody is lying to you and then just question, and I don't mean like directly or maliciously, but you're never going to get the full story from somebody that doesn't have the context to talk about the thing that you want that you have questions about, right? Like and look, people I don't know, intentionally, unintentionally tell me the version of the story they want me to hear, whether it's
Mm.
employees, contractors, deals I'm looking at, financing people, companies trying to sell me services, whatever it is. So I understand that there's risk that I'm always assuming, but I want to know what I'm taking as a risk, and I expect to be paid for it or pay appropriately for the risk that I'm taking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
like I'm comfortable with taking risk, but I want to understand what I'm assuming as a so property management. If you're hiring a property manager, if you're going to do it in-house, if you're going to hire a third party, okay, great. Like don't assume that before like so for example, landlord that's listening to this call and people in your audience. So if they're going to self-manage, okay, great. Am I going to like self-manage or am I going to like asset manage but then hire a third party manager? Property manager. Okay, well, I'm thinking I want to hire a third party because, like, my job, it pays me XYZ. So I really don't have time to run out to the property and change light bulbs. Okay, cool. So then when you're like thinking about how to hire that property manager, the first conversation I have is tell me about your current clients. Tell me about who you work with. What's your philosophy around your business? Like, I want to understand. I don't want the pitch. Like, I don't, by the way, big red flag is if your property management agreement is like 30 pages, I'm out. Like, Your property management agreement should be a handful of pages max at most, not like 30 pages with subsections or whatever it is, because none of that is to protect me. All of that is for you to extract money from my pocket into your pocket.
Mhm.
Okay. You don't need a 30-page agreement. So you're, it's not rocket science here. So I
Okay.
own 8-figure assets. Our agreements are, I don't know, 5, 8 pages, whatever long. You don't need a 30-page document, you know, for my protection. But anyway, you get past the whole simplicity, like the sniff test, then it's like, okay, well, what other clients have they done? What else would they work with? Like, don't tell me you're credible. Don't tell me you're going to do great things or this is like, just show me what you've done. Show me who you work with. Show me how you deal with your clients. And then that gives me a lot of context, and then we can have a real conversation about the practicality of your business. By the way, another thing is if you speak to me in a way where I can't understand what you're saying, I'm out because if you feel the need to like overcomplicate or like overstate things to make it seem like you're like this grandiose thing and I'm lucky to understand what you're talking about, then I'm out. Like it's got to be simple. It's got to be easy and simple. And if I can't understand, because if you take like 10 minutes to explain something that could take 30 seconds to me, I'm also out because it's just too much. I don't want the analogy I heard, and I'll repeat it to you. I don't know if you want to blur it out or not, but I don't want the pregnancy. I want the baby. Okay. I don't have time. I think I heard Al Pacino say it in one of the Ocean's 12 or 13 movies where he played the villain and he was on a construction site. He's like, I don't want the baby. I don't want the pregnancy. I just want the baby. And if you can't like get to the point like immediately with what we're talking about and then let me like ask more questions, then I don't know, maybe I'm turning into a grumpy old man, but it's just like, it's just, I don't have time. I have a 4-year-old, I have a newborn, I have a life. We don't need to take 20 minutes to discuss what could be summarized in 3 sentences,
Right.
right?
Well, and I always look at how you do anything is how you do everything. If every conversation is a 20-minute something, then that's how the whole thing's going to be. And that's not going to work. Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you know what? When somebody tells you who they are, believe them. So what I mean by that is if somebody is on a call with you and they're talking bad about somebody else or they're complaining about something or a set of circumstances, you're going to be on the receiving end of that with somebody else as them as the recipient, just so you know.
Right.
So it's not like, oh, you're different. No, you will be treated the same way.
Right.
So literally, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. Or if somebody always has to like explain things away because it seems shady, but no, 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 it's all fine. Here's why. And then there's like a 30-minute explanation. Look, I've made mistakes in my life where I've believed people or trusted people, and every single time my gut was like no, but the logic is like okay. And every single time it was like, man, like this is a problem. Like this is going to be a problem every single time. So when
What do you,
somebody shows you, like when your gut is screaming and you can't explain why, I mean, it could be just a personality mismatch, which is fine too, or it could be like, hey, there's something going on here and I can't put my finger on it. So just
what
walk
do
away.
you see most often people avoid talking about? The awkward conversation that they don't want to have.
Uh, well, so so here's the most awkward one in the business sense, attributing value to ownership as opposed to friendship. That is probably
Okay.
the most awkward thing that people have, and everybody makes this mistake, including myself on my first or one of my first ventures. Is you get together with 2 or 3 guys or gals and you all like each other and you're all like on a mission and you all buy into the same thing. So you become 50-50 or third partners. And you very quickly realize one person is actually the person that's doing all the work, paying all the bills, paying all the attention, and they're dragging along the other two kicking and screaming. The longer you forego that awkward conversation, the worse it's going to get. And eventually the other two people are going to resent you for it anyway. So you might as well have it right away. It's the most awkward thing. I can't tell you how many friends, clients, people I know reached me out. They're like, "Hey, I'm in this." I literally had a guy who's running a tech business reach out to me last week. He's like, "Hey, like I have this thing, I have this partner." He ends up putting in hundreds of thousands and all this time into the business. The other guy's just like well intentioned, but not really kind of doing it. So it's like, how do I work this out? It's like, dude, you got to nip this in the ass like now because like this is never going to go away. This is only going to become a bigger issue. So anyway, he texted me back. He told me he got it all. He's like, yeah, I did what you said. It actually all worked out. I'm like, okay, good, because you could have avoided a big situation here. But it's those awkward conversations. In your personal relationship with your spouse, like when you start dating. My wife, we went on I think it was the second date. She's like, we're talking about religion, we're talking about politics, all the things that you don't talk about like that you're going to mess like there's rules around when you go to Christmas dinner to certain things you avoid. Was it sex, politics, religion, money? We talked about all of it on like the
Yeah.
second.
Do you
That's why I knew I
really?
loved my wife. Oh yeah, because we just immediately like kids, like this, all the different hard things. Like we just got it all on the table, and we were like, yeah, it wasn't a business deal, but you know what I mean. It felt like just like all the major stuff. We just got it on the table.
I don't know. We're both in Canada right now, and I always laugh because the biggest awkward conversation that comes up recently is about Donald Trump. We don't need to go there now, but that's where it always
I
is.
mean,
And that's
the best quote for Donald that I've
yeah.
ever heard is people that love him take him seriously, but not literally. People that
Mm,
hate him take him literally, but not seriously. It's the best quote I've ever heard for Trump.
that's
I heard that when
great.
he got elected the first time, and it's relevant to this day. Because if you love the guy, you always go, yeah, yeah, I know he said this, but what he really meant was insert, my opinion here. Versus people that despise him, they don't even look at because he has done good things. He has done a lot of good things. He's also done a lot of things that you're just like, dude, like, what is this? But they don't even give him credit for the good things. They just take him literally for what he posts on social media, you know, which is his opinions. And I don't know. You know what? But here's the thing, as a business owner, I like Kevin O'Leary's stance where he's like, I don't care about the politics, I care about the policy. That's probably the smartest thing. So
Hmm.
I look at policy. Whether it was Trudeau or Carney now or, Biden or Trump, I look at the policy and everything else is kind of like almost like a reality TV show kind of playing out in real time.
Great.
And
Oh my
and and
goodness.
oftentimes it's weeks before I even look at what's going on because it's
You're
the
busy.
policy that makes the decisions, right?
Right, right. No, that's a very interesting way to look at it. I like that. Kevin O'Leary is a very interesting card as well.
Oh
But
yeah, he's I spoke at a conference with him a couple of years ago. He was
yeah.
hanging out in the green room. I think I ate his gummy bears at the time because he has the thing in his contract where like he needs to have certain snacks, and I didn't know that was his green room, so I just used it. And I don't know if they appreciated it after, but it was anyway, really good dude. But yeah, like he has his own opinions too, right? And that's okay. Like ultimately, I appreciate and will listen to anyone's opinions about anything, and it doesn't change. Like it doesn't make me feel more or less secure or insecure about my position. It's just like I'm like looking for the nuggets, like the little pieces of because everybody has something brilliant to share, whether love him or not. Trudeau did a lot of things that were really interesting, a lot of things that were very like, dude. And same thing with Trump, same thing with Biden, same thing with Carney, same thing with, Clinton, same thing with Obama. Like everybody has their like wisdom, and I just try to look for the good and there's no, I don't know, it doesn't serve me to like be upset at people that don't know my name anyway, so who cares?
Right, right.
Like it doesn't serve me. Like what is me being mad at Trump or Carney or whoever? Like it's not gonna make me a better father. It's not gonna make me a better business owner. It's not gonna make me a better husband. It's not gonna give me energy. It's not gonna do anything. It actually puts me in a negative state. And I don't want to be a victim to someone else's thing, you know.
So their drama. No, I get it.
I
I
don't
get
want
it.
to. My wife, when my wife, when we were date uh, early days, I think I said something to her once, and she looks at me, she goes, "It sounds like an issue, not an ish me."
I knew I liked her.
And I was like, in my head, I'm like, I love this woman. I love this woman so much.
I've never heard any of that before. That's so great. I love it. I love it.
So,
Well, let's talk about awkward conversations, but let's do it in a different way. Let's talk about awkward conversations that you might have with yourself. And especially as you're growing your family, you're growing your business, you're growing your team, and all of those come with some self-doubt. That comes with some expectations that might fall short. What are those awkward conversations with yourself look like, feel like? Or do you push them away? That's another option too. You avoid them.
no, I probably have. I don't know, you're asking a very particular question. I'm trying to think about what comes to mind when you say it. I mean,
Sure.
I don't know if it's awkward conversation. I mean, look, everybody has self-doubt in different parts of their lives. I mean, up until 4 years ago, I was never a father before. I
Mm.
didn't know what that meant. So, I kind of, my wife and I, we were joking with each other, and we were like, so, which version of screwing up our kid are we going to go through, right? Because it's like you're going to screw up your kid somehow. Question is which way, right? So it's like, I don't know. I say that facetiously, obviously, right? We love our kids and we do everything for them, but that also has its own version of screwing them up because who knows, right? So how much do you provide your kids versus what do you make them fend for themselves? Now I have a son versus a daughter. So it's like, am I going to raise him differently? Well, how? Like, what does that mean? Well, what does it mean to be a
Right.
man versus a woman? What does it mean to be a father of a daughter versus a father of a son? How are our roles different? So it's like,
Yeah.
if there's like any self-doubt or any conversations that I have with myself that are awkward, it's around that kind of stuff.
Okay.
It's not judgmental, it's more like inquisitive and you know, it yeah, it's just and then when my wife and there were some awkward conversations initially when we had our daughter 4 years ago. COVID was still fresh, so it was like,
Mm.
well, what is her opinion on this? What is her opinion on this? Like, all these different things, right? And again, because we had the conversations earlier in our relationships about, are we, fiscal, so we're fiscally conservative, we're socially liberal. That's just the way we are as people, and we're both aligned that way. I don't have an opinion on what other people should be doing, that kind of thing. And personally conservative, financially conservative, that kind of stuff. So it's like, so we're aligned there. So when we had our daughter, then we had those conversations. Those were awkward initially because there were things that we thought we were aligned. And I know you're going to ask me. And I don't remember what we weren't aligned on anymore because it was so long ago. But it would have been like conversations that we would have had about what's a good age for her to start potentially dating, and
Mm.
what's a good what's the opinion that we have on certain social economic things. Here's one that I remember. Here's something that we started doing last Christmas or the year before that was we wanted our daughter to feel like she could contribute not just within the home, so little chores or whatever it was, but little thing like for Christmas, we go to the toy store with her and she can buy one toy for her and then she can buy as many toys as she wants for other kids. So in other words, we literally just go to the toy store. I just don't pay attention. She can put whatever she wants in the stroller. And then we drop it off like one of those things at the mall where you can fill the thing with toys. So she
Hmm.
can pick out whatever toys she wants.
That's
But she
great.
has to give away everything except one. So psychologically, we're teaching her how to like be generous and like care about other people and like pay it. And by the way, I can't take credit for this. This was my wife's idea. So,
I love it.
but it's like just like things like this. Like initially, when my wife brought it up to me, I'm like, okay, like I didn't really understand. She explained it to me. I'm like, that's a really good idea. So we had to get on the same page about that kind of stuff. But I don't know. We I don't know. My wife and I, when it comes to like awkward conversations, we just have the awkward conversations are the standard because we never hide anything from each other. You understand? Like it's not awkward. It's just normal. Actually, when other people overhear our conversations, they're like, "Are you guys okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're just talking things out."
Are you guys okay?
Yeah, like it's not combative. It's like
No,
what other people would think is like a negative like thing. It's like no, we're just like flushing things out. So.
it was awkward for them.
Yeah, sometimes. So we try not to around other people, but sometimes it slips out.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, let's jump into capital raising and the lessons that you like to teach and some of the lessons that I've learned as one of your students. And there's a couple steps that I've learned along the way. I mean, I love the lesson that we learned recently in Phoenix when you focused a lot about the webinar, about creating the webinar and funnels with the webinars and really specifically you're looking for the right type of mindedness investor to move forward and support your funds or your deals and all the different things that you want to invest in. But when you're scaling a business, like me and
Hmm.
Mike are scaling, right?
Yep.
You get to a point where you've reached a ceiling where okay, your current system, you get up to, a certain level, but I want to be up here,
Yeah.
right? And so
Things
it's
break.
like you have to change it up. And it's like, how long do you stay here before you realize, hey, that ain't working anymore. You've got to change it up. How do you approach things like that where you realize you're starting to kind of stall?
I had a mentor once tell me uh, he's since passed, but he said to me once, I was on a call with him, and he goes, there's no moss growing under your feet. And essentially what it means is I'm always moving. So I don't stall. I always I've had even people within I've had some guys work with me or for me for 12, 14 years now, and they've seen me slug it out through all kinds of things, good, bad, indifferent. And they're just like, the thing I love about you is like no matter what happens, you're just like, okay, great, that didn't work. Let's just do it this way. Like you're always like, so I'm naturally always curious, and I'm always trying
Mm.
to make things bigger, better, and faster and all that stuff. So for me, it's just a natural state. I believe that the speed of the leader will determine the speed of your pack, and ultimately, if you're not moving at a certain cadence, then it's going to be difficult for you to attract people to buy into your vision because so here's the thing. Like if you're running a six-figure business, it could be made up of you and maybe a VA or maybe you and your spouse or whatever it is. If you're running a seven-figure business, you probably have one or two like six-figure quality employees within your organization. If you're
Sure.
running an eight-figure business, you probably have a bunch of people that could run their own six or seven-figure organizations,
Right.
right? And then if you're running and then ultimately if you're running a nine-figure business or portfolio, then you have people that you should have people within your core team that can legitimately on their own make, a seven-figure or potentially even an eight-figure operation fly. And the only reason they're part of your organization is because your vision is bigger and allows their vision to live within your vision, right? Like that's the thing that has to happen. And if you're ever so the answer to answer your question directly, Jennifer, the reason why for me I've always kind of never things have stalled, but I've never stalled, if that makes sense, right? So it's like and the reason why is because in my mind, it's like I always look at what is the opportunity in the context of what I'm doing. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm not smart enough to do this on my own. So who do I have to convince? Who do I have to sell? What do I have to buy? What do I have to invest in? And then for me, like I burn all ships and I just go all in on the thing. Like I don't, and maybe this is a good thing or a bad thing, depends, I guess. But I never doubt myself that it's going to not work. Like it will work. I don't know how yet, but it will work. So, you know,
My
Jeff
dad always
Bezos
says,
says it another way. He says, I'm going to mess this up, but he's always be super clear on your destination, but be very flexible on how you get there.
my dad has always said, don't ask me at the beginning how I'm going to get to my destination, but when I get to my destination, ask me how I got there and I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing.
Yeah. I
That's
mean, and,
pretty
and
cool.
just because otherwise, like you never start. You never have that first conversation with that investor. You never have that first conversation with the lawyer. You never have that first awkward pitch where you just suck. Like you never like I like when I got recruited. So fast forward from my early 20s, I got recruited into private equity. And when I started doing those presentations with the firm, we were buying these apartment buildings. I was horrible. Like I was horrible. Like I was just a nervous wreck. Like you just suck. You're not good. Like you're just not going to be good. Like it's delusional to think that you're going to get up on stage or get up in front of even five people and be great. I mean, maybe were you in theater when you were a kid? Were you used to performing in front of people? Because if you weren't, you're gonna suck. Like it will suck. You will suck. Even me, like what it was at 15, 16 years in the business when COVID hit and we're all at home doing this thing, right? With video. I got invited to speak at this webinar and I didn't realize what 400 eyeballs looking at you on Zoom looked like, but it was the weirdest experience ever. So I show up to a Zoom at like my kitchen counter because again I didn't have like the setup the stage I had the laptop with the flimsy back where it's like moving still like it was pre-COVID, right? And I show up to this meeting and I'm like I see the count in the webinar. I'm like I look at Maria. I'm like I got to put on like a suit or something. I feel under because I was just it was weird. And then I get in and I get introduced and I'm talking. There's like 400, 200 people, 400 eyeballs staring at you. And it's just like, I probably sucked because it
And
was just a new thing, right? So but I'm okay with the awkwardness. I'm okay with the looking silly, the because I don't care like, oh, what are people gonna think? They're gonna think that I don't care. Like I know where I want to go, so I'm willing to do the I did Toastmasters when I was in high school because I did the same thing. You talk about awkward. I'm an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old kid. It was while I was in college, I think. Yeah, I did was in school. And I would do Toastmasters Monday or Tuesday night or whatever, as everybody in the room was in their 50s and 60s. I'm this 19-year-old kid awkwardly trying to like present and but I knew I needed the skill because I wasn't good at it. So I just did it. I hated every minute of it.
yeah, talk about vulnerability. Toastmasters is a great place to learn how to fail and feel that awkwardness of going, I know I'm going to suck at this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's amazing. That's a great parallel. And I've been a Toastmaster myself. So,
Yeah, there you go. It's just and again, like everything has its phase, right? Like I did that for I think a year, year and a half, and then I realized that the club was very cliquish and everybody was
mm,
kind of like they were in their own little comfort zone and I'm like, okay, well I kind of got what I wanted out of this, so I moved on and by then I got recruited to private, I think the timing or anyways, it was but it was a transition, right? So and that's kind of the thing is that avoiding the awkwardness is the like the growth you want isn't as far as you think. And it's just you got to be okay with the uncomfortable. So then I'm in private equity. Everybody thinks, oh, you made it, you're a big shot. No, we had to make 200 to 300 dials a day to people that didn't want to talk to me. I got called so many names. I thought my name was a-hole after a few weeks because I got called so many things. There's just
oh,
but it was just but I didn't care. I was just like I to me it was a game. I was just like, okay, well that sucked. Let's try it again. Like it's just like I was too stupid to I was too dumb to quit. Like I don't know. I was just like I'm gonna get through this because the other side of it was for me, the next thing I needed. Like this was like I was collecting skills and things that I needed for me to do what I ultimately wanted to do.
I love it. Marcin, what's your big vision?
Oh man. Well, the most important thing to me is honestly is just being a great dad and a great husband. Like that's the biggest thing because I see these guys. I know, as you know, that I know people that are worth a lot of money and have done a lot of things. And like for example, Ken McElroy is a massive inspiration to me because he's multi-billion operator, like just fantastic. Fortunate to have in my life in my world, but he's a great example. He's a great father, great businessman, humble as like you'd never know who he is. If you didn't know
Never
him,
know
you'd
if you
never
don't.
know. There's no arrogance, there's no nothing about him. Like he's just
Yeah.
his kids are fantastic. I've met his boy, like I met his like they're just cool. They're just cool. So for me on a personal level, like that's a baseline for me because I don't want to be, because I know other guys that are financially at the same level, but they're just kids are like just like personal life is total dumpster fire. So for me, the most important thing is that like I will never do anything that puts me out of alignment with my family, with my wife. I want to make sure I honor her, I respect her, and all that stuff. That's the most important thing to me above everything else. And then, beyond that, I mean I mean if you want to talk about the business, I mean it's not inconceivable to me that by the time I'm closer to Kenny's age that I'll be running a multi-billion dollar portfolio. but to me, I don't really have like a number. I don't care. It just, I don't care. Like whatever makes sense. Like it could be 300 million. It could be 30 billion. It doesn't, it's not going to change who I am or how I see myself or how I see my life. So I don't really care. Um, and that doesn't really inspire me as much. You know what does get me jazzed up though is that like within our community and our clients is when I see somebody who's like got like a $3 million portfolio and they get to like 10 million. Like that's cool. Like because that's like a massive shift in their personal financial circumstances. Because once you have a certain financial means, the next it's like for example, if you have no money, $10,000 is all the money. But when you
Right.
have, I don't know, $1 million, 10 grand is kind of like whatever. When you have $10 million, 100 grand is kind of like meh. So it starts to there's a place where it just starts stops to lose its meaning because you don't your needs are met, right? So it's and I'm not driven by the ego thing. I don't really care. Um, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I mean, look, by the time I get to my 60s, we'll probably have multiple, billion-dollar portfolio, and this business will be with our consulting side, tens of thousands of clients and whatever it is, and all that's fantastic. But I don't want any of this stuff to come at the expense of, me being there for my daughter, my son, potentially future kids. Like I will never, I never want to be that 80-year-old guy with kids I don't know, with a wife that doesn't want to talk to me, and then be loved by all these strangers that don't really care about me personally. So I think you can do both, but I would never let like this one sacrifice this one kind of thing.
Love it. A great balance.
Well,
Well,
I don't know if it's a balance, but it's priorities, right? You just gotta, yeah, I don't know. I'm still figuring it out.
well, and aren't we all, right?
Yeah.
Aren't we all? No, that's good. Well, and you've got to figure out what are your deal breakers, right? And that's I love figuring that kind of thing out. Going, you know what? We just crossed the line, and I'm not really excited about that. So,
Yeah.
what am I going to stand for? What do I know? And like you say, priorities. That's pretty good way to put it. I like that.
Yeah, and I mean, we all, maybe not we all, but certainly I did, and probably many people do, is you compromise on little things earlier on in life because you don't know better or you think that it's going to be okay. And anytime I compromised, and I don't mean like legally, I just mean like just little things chip away at you, oh, well, as an example, in my early 20s, if I'd meet with somebody and they weren't exactly the kind of person I could see myself spending time with beyond the business, I'd be like, oh, that's okay because they're different and I'm different. And that's maybe why we're going to be good, partners or maybe why whatever. But now in my 40s, if I can't see myself introducing you to my family or see myself spending time with you outside of work because I generally don't enjoy your company, then we're not going to be business partners because I'm not going to do it because I have to.
Right.
And anytime I've had to do something, it always bit me in the ass.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just like
Absolutely.
that's not a legal thing. It's not a moral thing. It's just like a vibe thing. Like there's a certain, I don't know, energy, flow, something going on that it's like if I can't see myself like spending time with you outside of this thing that we're talking about, then historically I would have been like, yeah, but this is so amazing. It's so great. Like, we'll figure it out. Everything will be. No, every single time I tried to justify things, it always bit me in the ass every single time.
Oh
So,
my goodness. Well, I know that I'm betting that some of the listeners they're all thinking of the awkward conversation that they've been avoiding having. And I'm just wondering if you had, before they make the phone call and they have this awkward conversation that they know they've been avoiding, what piece of advice would you tell them before they pick up the phone to make that call?
I mean, just play out what you want, where you want that call to end, best case, worst case. And if worst case happens and it goes nuclear in the way you don't want it to be, well, what happens next? Well, what do you mean? Well, theoretically, if that person goes nuclear and the worst thing of the worst could have happened, where does that leave you? What would you do next? What would happen next? Most of the time, you're going to go, all right, cool. Then make the call. You're good.
Not- It's not as bad as they think.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. Was it Mark Twain said, most of the things that he realized, most of the negative thoughts he had, or most of the bad things he imagined in his mind, were things that never came true
Never
anyway. So who
happened.
cares?
Right.
Like,
Right.
you know,
No, that's pretty incredible. Well, Marcin, this is so refreshing. Just talking with you about really about humanity. I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about. We were talking about scaling businesses and awkwardness and things like that. But so much of the real estate industry is talking about the numbers and the wins and the I've done this and it's all rah rah rah. But the reality is, my take on the reality is that it's all built on what are your, like you say, priorities, and are you willing to feel uncomfortable or make those awkward calls and build your systems based on what other people's visions are, but you have to set the pace. And I just really feel like this was so different than like sitting in one of your classes where you're teaching me. You're teaching me something
Mm.
different. And I thank you
Yeah.
for that.
And you're welcome. I've had people say, "Hey, why don't you have like a self-help thing?" I go, "No, man, I don't. I do real estate. I buy apartment buildings. Like, if you end up getting therapy out of this, it's a bonus and completely by accident. Okay, this is not what this is meant to be. But ultimately, look, all business is, uh, business would be easy if there was no people involved, first of all. And I forget who originally said that, but the fact is, we got to deal with people. I mean, the robots are coming, but we probably got a few more years before it's all robots, and you got to deal with people. And at the end of the day, the longer I run businesses, the more I realize that it's the decisions that I make have a disproportionate impact on like the vibe, the culture, the team, and it's less about what I do every day, but the direction that I can set and just make sure I have the right people there and ultimately have no ego about it. Like when things go well within the company, I we make sure we have a way to acknowledge everybody on the team. And when things go wrong, I think about, okay, well, how come I didn't prepare these guys or set these guys up or set them up to do things the right way? Like obviously this is a reflection of me.
Mm.
So, they're like whenever I catch myself saying, "Oh, well, they're just dumb," or "They just don't get it," it's like, no, I, I probably screwed up something somewhere. And if it's like, well, no, technically that was this person. Well, no, I put them there, so clearly I missed something. And
Wow.
just being naturally curious and just, I don't know, it's just easier to take responsibility for everything because then I don't know, it's just easier. I don't know. And by the way, the awkward conversations, if you have a hard time having awkward conversations with people, just start the conversation with, "Hey, just so you know, this is gonna be an awkward conversation."
That's exactly
Literally
how we
just
start
just
them.
just say it. Yeah, just hey, like just
Absolutely.
just so you know, this call's gonna suck and you're probably not gonna like me at the end, but I just want you to know that I still think you're great.
We frame it that way. We tell all our employees when we hire them, we say, look, if something's eating at you, you just come out and you have to hold your hand up and go, I have to have an awkward conversation, and you just spill your guts.
Yeah,
And they likely have been thinking about something, or it's been chewing and chewing, and then of course it grows because they won't deal with it. And by
that
the time they
festers.
spill their guts, they're usually crying. There's
It
some
peers.
emotion,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And then we always go, okay, is that everything? And then they go, well, no, and then they'll keep going. But anyway, okay, you've got it out. You feel better? What do you want to do to fix it? Like they've been thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Well, Marcin,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time today. I mean, I could just talk with you for a lot longer, but I want to respect your time. Any parting thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the this is my favorite thought. I have it on one of my not in this office, but in the other office. When things are going well, you're never as smart as you think, and when things are not going well, you're never as dumb as you feel. So just don't forget that. Because it's easy to have the opposite happen when things are going, when sales are happening, when money's coming in, when when the market's appreciating without you doing anything, you feel like a genius. But you know that's usually that's usually not the case. And then at the same time, when things go to hell in a handbasket, it's generally not you either. So I mean, right now in the commercial real estate space, a lot of guys in Texas and other markets, they're literally dealing with at the time of this recording, rents are dropping like a rock in a lot of markets. So there's a lot of concessions, and people that are used to always crushing and winning and are right now wondering, hey, in 6 months or 12 months, am I going to be able to hold on to my property? And they feel like a
Right.
failure, a lot of them, right? But it's like you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing. It's just the market. It's where it is. You got to get creative. You got to cut costs. You got to figure it out, right? At the same
Right.
time, a couple of years ago, everybody thought they were a genius because they bought multifamily. Well, no, rates were nothing. So everybody was making money on paper because apparently, you know, everything was cheap. So,
Right. Right. Marcin, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
yeah, no, you got it. Thanks for having me.
Excellent.